China's local and regional governments, or LRGs, exhibit significant vertical fiscal imbalances. They're responsible for 90% of the total expenditure but only collect 74% of total revenue. This creates a structural underfunding as the gap is not fully covered by central transfers, necessitating debt financing. LRGs bridge the funding gap by establishing LGFVs. Unlike other frameworks, Chinese LRGs can transfer funds from its capital account to operating account. We regard this structural feature as a weakness in China's public finance framework, particularly during periods of revenue contraction. However, this mismatch is mitigated by the Chinese LRG's generally robust expenditure adjustability, as the share of inflexible costs, including education, social security, unemployment, healthcare, and public safety, is low as percentage of total expenditure. We believe fiscal revenue reflects economic performance, as most tax revenue comes from value-added, corporate, and personal income tax, even though there's a time lag. LRGs have limited tax autonomy as tax rates are set by the central government. In some scenarios, provincial governments can set or adjust tax collection within a range specified by the central government. Lower-tier governments accounted for most of the LRG expenditures. However, the expenditure is matched by corresponding revenue share, indicating a vertically balanced allocation of resources. LRGs also have a high share of capital expenditure which can be delayed or cancelled if revenue declines. Strict annual debt limits are applied for each province and shared with its lower LRGs based on the debt burdens, physical revenue, and required investments. Fitch considers LRG public infrastructure debt to include both direct debt as well as off-balance sheet liabilities that may crystallize as government debt. Off-balance sheet liabilities include debt raised by LGFVs on behalf of LRGs for policy or quasi-policy projects that lack sufficient commercial cash flow coverage. Fitch considers higher-tier governments tend to have more favorable risk profiles than lower-tier LRGs. The differentiation of risk profiles at the lower-tier LRGs is wider than at provincial governments, reflecting a greater variety in economic and physical characteristics. Importantly, risk profiles are not capped by tier. The risk profiles of economically and physically strong prefecture-level cities could be similar to those of a provincial government should the theoretical ability to service debt be similar.